Well, welcome to Paulette's Paper Play. I'm Paulette, and we have a cat secret from our friends at Studio Light. Just lots and lots of things here. And this is one of the projects that I did. You can see the kitty on the front and this little booklet with tags inside, all of that. So this is just going to be so much fun. Won't you please come play with us? Well, before we get into the projects, let me just show you what's going on here. And we're going to start with the 8x8 papers. There are 36 sheets in here. They are single-sided, and they're very muted colors and muted kitties also. And you're going to get 3 of each. And some of them are just the flowers, and some are kitties and flowers. And there you go. So just beautiful papers. And it kind of just makes you want to do some fun things with them. And hopefully you'll like what I did. And here we go. And we've got some teapots. And to coordinate with this, isn't that lovely? We have also, there's another kitty. So notice that the kitties tend to be at the edges. That's important to note because that, isn't that pretty? Okay, I think that's all of it. Then we also have this sheet of die cuts, and Studio Light does an amazing job. There are over 300 die cuts in here. See, scissors with an X off of it. And so we've got all of these. Now, I did not use the teapots or cups, but you certainly can. You're going to get a couple of sheets of each one. Here's more. We've got some books. And then we get into the kitties. You can see there's some in frames. There's also some greetings. And have lots of pieces. And as you can see, and let's see, I used some of those. Some kitties in ovals. And some individual kitties. That's important to note. And you can see that love. I think you probably saw that on the front. And I didn't use the furniture, but it's right there if you want to. Now, usually that's what Studio Light does. However, this time they also did these little tags. They called them ATCs, Artist Trading Card. They're 2.5 by 3.5 inches. There are 20 in here, and there are 2 each of 10 designs, and they look like this. So they're going to match the papers. That's actually one of my favorites. Some of them have kitties, but not all of them. And as you can see, they all have this die cutting at the top. And so they are all like that. So that's just some of them. Okay, 2 of each. So that's the other piece that is fun to play with this collection. So let me get started. And here we go. This is my first card. This is 5 by 6.5. And I took this sheet, and that was at the back of the paper pad. And I used this area because I really wanted that to show, and used that to cover my card. So simply took my blank card, I use glue stick, use whatever adhesive you like, and put that along all edges, position my paper along the score line, the fold line, and one other edge so it's straight, press it down, turn it over, and trim it to fit with scissors. And that is going to work every single time. No measuring, is perfect. Okay, then I thought with those little kitties, it would be so cute to have them sitting on something. So I went to our fabulous folded dies, and this is Picket Fence number 2. And it is this piece. So let me pull it out and show it to you, show you the die. Oh, I suppose I could show you one of the fences too. Okay, so here is the die, and it's one piece. It has this fold, this little tab on the end. Normally, you would put extra sticky tape on that tab and attach it to the inside of your card, and then you could have it open. Well, I didn't want to do that because I wanted my kittens to just sit on it. So I trimmed that off and simply glued that down flat. Okay. Now, I did do one other thing before that, before I did the fence, and that is inking the edges. Now, I used the Velvet Fawn, and placed this on my craft mat and just went around the edge. Now, I'm not sure if you could tell the before and after, but this is the before and this is the after. So it's not a giant change, but it does make kind of a shadow, and I like that. I think it looks a little more finished. So just wanted to point that out to you. Okay, so there we go. Then, getting the fence on, I forgot to mention, there's also these cross pieces, and so you can see that right there. So I die cut that twice and just put it right over the fence. Then I had a place for my kittens to perch. So I've got one down here that I foam taped. I've got another one foam taped right here. Then this is one of the die cuts, and I simply punched it out and put it behind the fence, because when I glued that down, of course I didn't do the whole entire piece. I just did a couple of areas and glued it down. So I like that, and I like it overlapping the fence, the kitten, and the artwork. So that worked really well for me. I did take one of the roses cutouts and put that just right behind that little kitten. This piece, let me show you. It is obviously in the, okay, here it is. So I wanted some roses climbing my fence, and I just looked around and I found this cutout. So I used my precision scissors and just trimmed right next to the fence and got that stone fence out of there, and I was left with this. Now when you're doing something like that, you don't have to be too precise about it, because it's just going to go right along the edge, and I foam taped that in place. So I felt like I created a scene. I've got at least 3 things showing there that are kind of all united, and that worked very nicely for me. Okay, now to go inside this card, I took this sheet, and this has got flowers down here, and also just kind of like on that edge, but I wanted just to use this area. And so I covered the inside, same way I did the front. Now this has 2 of those tags, and I did put, glued one little black and white kitty to there, and another black and white one here, and then this bow is a separate one. Can you get in closer, Jeanette? And that is a separate piece. So I just glued that right under his little chin, or her little chin. This is another cutout, wishing you the best day ever. I just tucked that under the tag. So I've got 2 of the tags, so that's kind of the beginning of using them. And that is my very first card. Okay, now we're gonna go to the second one. And I wanted to use those papers in a way that was really highlighting the kittens. So here is, okay, let me show you the sheet with this little cat. I used up all the ones that I had, so let me get it out of this book. And of course it's going to be not in the front. Here we go. There we go. Okay, so here's the kitty that I wanted to use. But in order to use her, I would have to position the cutting die that I wanted to use. The cutting die is the fancy foldovers. Now, in this set, there are 3 cutting dies. And there's a narrow one that's 3 by 5, a longer one that's 3 by 6.5, and a bigger one that's 4 by 6.5. So I started with the narrow one. So let me pull it out and show you. Okay, this is how they come. This is a brand new package. So we've got 3, and I love that little kitten sitting there, and I thought it would be really fun to just capture it at the top of my card. So, but that proved to be a bit of a challenge, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so what I did first is I took the dies and I traced them. Let's see, let me give you a white background. Okay, I traced them onto a sheet protector because I wanted to be able to position the die exactly where I wanted it. And I wanted to make sure, well, did I have enough room? So that's why I traced around them onto the sheet protector. You can use piece of acetate. This was just the fastest thing I grabbed. One other thing you want to do, and take it from my experience, is you want to mark where the score line is, because there is a score line. So when I cut my first piece, it was really easy to position it. I just did it like this, turned my die over, put my low tack tape, ran it through the die cutting machine, but I forgot about that score line. So I had a little kitty with no ears, which is just absolutely not going to work. So I share this with you to, to take care of that. So be sure to draw your score line, because then you can scoot this piece up and die cut it out appropriately. So I did put the extra sticky tape on the back of the flap, and I attached it here. Then I did another one, and this one I did on another area of my card. I think I just did that and die cut that out. You could do it anywhere. You could do it up here. In fact, that's going to work just fine too. Whoops. That's going to work just fine too. Okay, so you can get several out of one 8x8 sheet. So I did that. I did also ink the edges with, again, the Velvet Fawn. Velvet Fawn works beautifully. It's very soft, like these colors, because I wanted to have an edge, okay? So I did that. However, the first thing I should tell you is that I knew there would be a gap, because I can tell that by the cutting die, because it's only 3 inches long. So I did take this sheet, and this is like a sheet I used on the first card, except it was a green tint. This is a pink tint. So I did cover the front of my card with this, so that when I added my folds and I inked them, there would be a difference. Okay, so I did that on that one, and I did it on that one. Then I pushed out the butterflies, these 2 butterflies. Now the 2 butterflies were more white looking, and I'm not sure if I can stumble onto them through these 300 die cuts, and I'm going to stop looking right now. Okay, stop, Paulette. I did ink them with the blush, and the blush is, again, very soft. It's like the Velvet Fawn, very, very soft, just so that I had a little bit of a blush on each of them. So they are foam taped in the center. I did kind of curve the edges, the wings, just so there's a little bit of a bump there. This is one of the die cuts. Isn't it beautiful? I foam taped that in place so that I have the opposite corners. The I Love You comes from the brown script dazzles. We just did a red, blue, green, brown, and something else, orange, I think, script dazzles, and so the I Love You is there. This little heart is one of the die cuts, and I took the brown ribbon and made a bow, and I also wanted to finish the edge, so let me put that there so you can see. I wanted that edge a little more finished, so I went into the thin line dazzles, and this is the primary colors. Now there are 6 sheets: blue, yellow, brown, green, red, and black. You can see, obviously, I did the brown to match my dazzles, so that worked. And then on the inside, this is just a straight piece of the cardstock that I used. This is one of the die cuts. And then this is another die cut, and I just really thought she needed a hat. The Happy Birthday is yet another one. So again, my overlapping is that I've got this piece, which was what was left over. Overlapping, this is overlapping the card and that paper. This is overlapping the paper and the oval, and the Happy Birthday, as you can see, is overlapping that. So I just thought that was kind of a fun little surprise as you open it. And I really did want to put a hat on one of the kittens. Okay, so that is my second one. But you know, when you're looking at potentially buying some cutting dies, I think you want more than just one idea. So I decided to do yet another. So here is my second card. And this is using another of the dies here and also on the inside. So let me show you what that is and why I did what I did. And like I said earlier, I really love that paper. I thought it was just gorgeous. And I also wanted to use, as I said, the fold over cards. And I've already used this one, so we've got that. And the largest one is a little different. It only cuts that decorative edge. It does not cut the rest of it. That means that you can position this whenever you want on your card. So that gives you some, some options. So I took my card, my 5 by 6.5 inch card, and I covered the front of it with this paper, making sure to keep that over on the edge because I knew I would be die cutting this out, okay? So I did that, and then I really putzed around a lot, and I'll tell you why. I wanted to have a big kitty here, and so I was going to put it on glitter cardstock, and so I went ahead and did my oval cutting with this, and I was going to put it here and have a kitty, but what would happen is that it just took up too much of the space. Just far too much of the space. So I discarded that after about, I won't tell you how long I struggled with it. So, you have something in your head and you want to make it work. So let me just tell you one more thing. So I've got the paper on here. Then I have positioned this so that it's just going to cut like so. Then I ran it through my die cutting machine. I would have to turn it like this so that it wouldn't cut the back of the card. Okay, so just did it like that. So that gave me this piece. Okay, did a little bit of inking along the edge, added some dazzles. These happen to be the fancy border primary. So like the thin line primary that I just used, there's a whole bunch of sheets. There's 12 sheets in this one. And you can see that I used one on the corner there. Now, this little guy is one of the die cuts, and I popped him out, and then I had to trim him because he was connected to something else. And I wanted something to make him just a little bit bigger, but I didn't want to make him more visible. I wanted him to be just this sweet little guy perched there. So I did look at the glitter, and I decided that was a little in your face for this particular card. So I went to vellum, and the vellum, as you know, is translucent, and it just adds a little bit, and I like that. So that was exactly the look I wanted. So I really struggled with that great big one that I wanted. I had to discard that, and I went with the little guy and did some vellum, foam taped it in place, used the hello from that same brown script dazzles, and that's my front of my card. Now my inside of my card, I did the exact same thing on a different sheet. As a matter of fact, it is on this sheet. And I could use my die and not interfere with that kitty. So I simply placed it here, die cut it, glued it to the inside of my card. Prior to doing that, I did ink the edge with Velvet Fawn. Now this guy, or gal, came out of this sheet. Isn't she pretty? And I did use the oval dies. And I do have it written directions down below, by the way. So, and I did use the scallop first, and then I used the vellum again, inked the edges, used the vellum, and glued her here. The With Love is from the brown dazzles. The fancy border dazzles are there. So the way my card reads is hello. It's got my flowers, it's got my kitty, got my decorative edges, and then with love. So there you go. And I like the juxtaposition of the small kitty with the bigger one. And the vellum was a nice thing. I was pleased with that. The other thing I realized is that as you're using these, this is the waist this is the part that you are cutting off. Now, I believe that in the right hands, this would make a really pretty edge. So I think you could use these, oh, maybe on the inside of a card, lots of different ways. So I just leave that to your creativity to process. Okay, now the last card is this one. And this is a little booklet. And you can see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Those are those tags again. So what I did is I used 2 cards, and I like the cards. You don't have to use cards, but I like them because I could take my tag in a bag. You have to be aware of this cutting die because it is absolutely wonderful. I did not use the bag because I knew this was going to get pretty thick, so I wasn't going to put it into a bag. I was just going to use the tag. And where's my tag? There we go. Okay, so here's my tag. So I had my folded card. I placed this on top of it, overlapping the scored edge, that folded edge, ran it through the die cutting machine. I did that twice. So then I had 2 of these, and I simply glued the edge of one, or the back of one, to the front of another, so that I've got two little booklets. Then I went into the papers. Now at this point I had bits and pieces of papers, and I simply used my tag again and just ran it through the various papers and covered up each of the sheets. Now the cutting die does cut a hole, so that worked nicely. So you can see they're all pretty light, although I did make sure I used the same sheet or the same area on the inside pair and that inside pair. So then I did go back to my glitter. I didn't use this one, but I did use the scallop border and die cut that out, and then die cut out this kitty and glued them together. I did use the white ribbon throughout this piece, as you can see as I flip through, but I did want to put a little bow under here. No greeting on the front of this, but there's certainly greetings inside. So I went to this one. Now here I've got 2 tags. So actually I've used 4 tags in this. And this one has a kitty, but this one doesn't. Now this is the other kitty that was connected to this one. So they were actually connected together. I did not put it on vellum. I just glued it there. The Enjoy Your Day is one of the die cuts. I let it come off the edge of the tag. This is another of the die cuts, as is this one. You Are Amazing is another one. These are the wide white glitter, excuse me, they are the wide straight line glitter dazzles. So they are translucent and they have the glitter embedded in them. So I just put there on each side and there, just to give a little sparkle. Not too much, but just a little. Enjoy Your Day, You Are Amazing. Then this one, I've got 2 tags. This one has a kitty and so does that one. Notice I put them each kind of next to each other to the score line in the middle. The Love is the die cut, so is that flower. You Are the Best and that flower. This is out of the Border Dazzles, the thin line. And then I did take a different ribbon for each one, simply fold it in half, slip the fold through the hole, and then thread the ribbon tails through that and pull them up. So I've got a glitter ribbon, I've got a crepe, and I've got a sheer. So all of those. Now I did do one more thing on the back. Now I'm going to give this to my granddaughter, who is as much a nut about cats as I am. And I'm using our cat dazzles. Now I know this is not the same look as these very lovely ones inside the book, but she will love it. So I just have a border just for you and a kitty and butterflies. So that is the last of that one. Okay, so there we go. That's what I saw in using a Cat's Secret, the 8x8 papers, the 300 die cuts. You have plenty left, by the way. And also those ATC tags, just really, really nice tags. So that was fun. And I do hope that my tips and tricks and telling you, doing a little therapy here, telling you it didn't work and why I cut off a kitty's ears unintentionally will help you. There is a money saver. It's on the right-hand side of the screen. And if you happen to be watching this on YouTube, we'd love it if you would subscribe. Head on over to Paper Wishes. You can get the whole collection, or you can pick and choose. There's plenty here. 36 sheets, over 300 die cuts, and 20 of the tags. As I said, I did write the directions. They are down below. Just click on them, and that will give you lots of special information that perhaps I couldn't share with you. I did not document my errors. I share that with you verbally, just between you and me. Okay, I want to thank you so much for joining us and for being part of our Paper Wishes family. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.